Hey y'all, it's Wildcat 6305 coming at you from Ike's Treehouse outside of Augusta, Georgia. Today, out in my garage. I was inspired by General Hand Grenade once again. He just made a video, or he just released a video of going over to the flight stands. He has the FMG, the Field Marshal Gaming flight stands, and now he's got a new batch of War-Torn flight stands. As you may have seen in my other videos, and as you can see in this video, I have my DIY flight stands, the Wildcat Originals there, as I like to call them. I don't have intentions of purchasing War-Torns, even though they look really nice, just primarily because I have already mounted all my planes. I purchased Europe 40, Pacific 40, and Spring 1942, and I've mounted all those planes. This is over like 300 planes. Have no desire to do that again. Yeah, I'll add to the fleet, but I'm not going to redo them. And really, the flight stands, my flight stands, doing this, and all I did was simply take a nut and epoxy just a finishing nail into it, and super glued it to the plane. It cost me probably $35 to plus my labor, which I give myself a discount on my labor. So just materials, probably looking at about $35 to do 300 flight stands, which to me, that's I can't beat that cost. I have I came up with an idea, I execute on it, and I had the material and stuff to do it and time to do it. So really, I just kind of want to run through what I did, not necessarily to detract from War-Torn, but really kind of the General Hand Grenade did a video showing you how he did his, and in that same sense, I want to show you how I did mine. So you may have different tools than General Hand Grenade and and really, I'm doing this from a perspective of this is what I did for my flight stands, and maybe some of this stuff can translate over to when you're building War-Torn, or when you order War-Torn flight stands, or you're assembling them yourself. So if that makes sense, even though I don't have any of War-Torn's flight stands. So just want to kind of throw that out there. So here is a finished product right here, the Anzac Fighter. And as I said before, I got just this number 10 nut here, and I just did some 5-minute epoxy in there and put this nail here, and then I drilled a hole, as you can probably assume, into the plane and super glued it in there. So one design which could appear as a flaw, but is actually kind of works out in my favor. So you're going to drop these planes eventually, and on my design, with them being super glued like this, when you drop them, due to the impact, the weakest point in the whole flight stand is right here where the plane attaches to the stand itself. So yesterday, in fact, I dropped my case of Anzac aircraft, and I had 5 planes pop off their flight stand, which is kind of cool. Hey, that's 5 planes I gotta glue back onto the flight stands. But at the same time, though, the weakest link is the plane popping off. So by dropping them, it's not like I broke wings. I didn't break tails off. The models are okay. The planes are okay. The stands are okay. The only thing I got to do is just get out my tube of super glue and glue them back on. So that's an unintended design, what could be seen as a flaw, but built-in safety feature almost. And one thing about War-Torn's flight stands, he kind of has that same feature built in if you use the magnets to attach them to the stand. Because, hey, if you keep them on the stands and you drop it, then the plane's going to fall off the stand. Now, I don't know how sturdy his stands are, or as far as resiliency, as far as dropping them and that sort of stuff. But you know, hey, that in my system, the weakest link is the plane being glued to the stand, and it's a magnet in that case. So one thing that I'm set up here at my drill press in front of my garage, and as you can see my drill press here, zoom out, and I realize not everybody has a drill press, and see all my part of my nasty garage, or maybe not nasty, but just cluttered. Yeah, that's the word, cluttered. So I know everybody doesn't have a drill press, but some people do. I know Sired Blood has a drill press, or at least access to a drill press. And yeah, this is something my granddad had passed away, and so my dad took my granddad's drill press, and then through that my dad gave me his drill press. So my drill press is probably as old as I am, but regardless, just in case you don't have one, the way it works is you set the depth. So you probably can't see it. That's actually not touching. So there's actually just a little bit of gap. And let me move my camera around here. I got the stand out. I got the tripod here. So where is it? There it is. So it's actually not touching that wood. If you can, you'll have to believe me, but it's actually not touching the wood right there. It's just barely missing it. So the advantage of a drill press is you can set the depth. So you have this washer, this nut and washer and gauge, so you can turn that to get the fine adjustment. So with that, and the whole platform here will raise up and down. So you get you get your coarse adjustment, and then you make your fine small adjustments like this. And so what you want to do is set it so you can't go through the plane. That's the biggest advantage of the using a drill press over using a normal drill. I drilled a couple of them with my hand drill, but as General Hand Grenade was talking about, I mean, you gotta be really careful with these planes because they're so thin. He was talking about he bought all new American fighters. I with my drill press, I was actually able to drill all my P-38s, just kind of to give testament to the precision of a drill press. So one thing, regardless of whether if I was using a drill press or not, everybody has a bunch of blocks around their house, or if you got any woodworking stuff. But one thing that I had, and there's just a knot here in this block that I use, but you could just kind of drill you out a hole. But what I did there was, since you need the plane upside down and you got the tail here, I use that hole to put the tail right there, so the plane actually laid flat as can be, because if not, it's going to be up at an angle. And it's not as big of a deal on the fighters, but on some of the on the bombers here, I'll grab this tactical bomber here. Well, that one's not doing it. Should have grabbed another nation. The Anzac ones are kind of flat, but some of the other ones, the tail may be up really high, so then your bomber's at an angle. So by having that knot there, you can get it to sit down flat. So regardless whether you're doing it by hand or not, I would suggest trying to get a block to kind of help guide you what you're trying to do. So I'm not going to drill this because I already have all these holes drilled, but essentially what you can do with this is you can just get it right on to where you're trying to get to, and then drill down, and then you're not going to drill through. That's a real advantage of it. You set it once, so if you got the Anzac fighter, you put the first one up, you kind of play around with it, and you may have to come down to the side and kind of look and be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not going to go through, and then put it under and then make your press. And rinse and repeat for, well, I'm looking to see where my hand was, but okay, good. So did that for all my planes. So for each plane, you just make your minor adjustments to adjust for the new plane that's on the press, and then go to town, and then knock all those out, and then you have that entire aircraft type drilled, and then they're ready to go. And as you can see here, that one's already drilled. But yeah, that's kind of what I did, and I was able to knock out all my planes pretty quickly. Then the next part, the next choke point of my production of my plane of stand system was the actual stand itself. And you can see these aren't perfect. You know, I do have OCD in certain things, but when it comes to trying to be really precise and being cheap, I kind of let it slide. But these planes but these stands, some of them are a little bit bent, but kind of got to babysit them a little bit when you're letting them dry, and I'll show that here in a minute. But that one's maybe a little bit better. Oh, the other thing, I just jumped into drilling the hole. So the other thing about the fighter, to me, you don't want to just arbitrarily drill a hole into the fighter. So what I did was, you want to try to find the equilibrium point underneath the wing where you can kind of balance it on something and it's not going to fall. Because if you can drill the hole in the equilibrium of the sculpt, then you'll have an easier time getting it to dry correctly. Because if you drill it too far up, and let me zoom back in here. So if you drill it too far up, it's going to want to fall back like that. It looks like it's taking off. If you drill, yeah, there you go. If you drill it too far up the body, it's going to look like it's trying to take off. If you drill it too far down, it's going to look like it's a torpedo bomber, which is okay if you're making kamikazes, but if not, if you're just trying to make them look like they're normal in-flight planes, then you need to do that. And one thing too, like this stand's a little bit crooked, you probably can't see, but one thing that I learned to do too when I was making these, I tried to find the direction of the lean of which way the stand, like when I set it down, which way was the nail leaning, and then I tried to put the plane facing that direction. I found it aesthetically, it looks less noticeable that the nail's leaning when you do it that way. But I say all that to say, as I said before with Wartorn's flight stands, this same process, you can use this with Wartorn's flight stands. Needing to drill, you just need a bigger bit, because this is the 1/16 bit that I did all this with. So you need a bigger bit to be able to put that magnet in. And one thing that General Hand Grenade was talking about, the magnets, really, if you, as far as keeping the polarity is the same, because that may be an issue with the magnets, just from what I would suggest with my experience working with magnets, glue the one onto the post first, and then every time, and then match off of that one post, if that makes sense. So don't necessarily go, a plane with the stand, and then you glue your magnets. Now put the magnet there, try the other magnet, set it to that plane, then either your next plane, go pair it with the same magnet on that stand, or keep the plane, put the new magnet on the next stand and pair it that way to keep your polarity correct on those magnets so they stick better. That would be my suggestion with working with magnets in the past, although I don't have that to really display it. But like I said, I would suggest kind of keeping one stand as your home, as your home base, so to speak, as your divining rod, your true, to keep true, and then match off of it. That's what I'd say to do. But yeah, I'm gonna glue these planes back, and we'll go from there. I would show you how to mix up the epoxy and set this up, but I mean, I did have some stuff set up to do that, and tell you what, I'm not gonna show you. I'm not gonna actually go through the process of mixing up the epoxy, but I'll just show you kind of what I did. I've learned that kind of a small blob of epoxy here, if I mix it up, I can get about 11 to 12 stands made. I'd shoot for 12 and then see how it goes, because the epoxy, using the 5-minute epoxy, it dries pretty quick, so you don't want to wait around. So the biggest thing is having your stuff laid out assembly line fashion, both the nuts and whatever finishing nails you're going to use. And I use both, just your normal nail with the normal finishing nail with the small head, and then one with the big head. To me, I found the smaller heads work better, because the big heads were trying to get stuck inside the nut, and it was being a problem. But yeah, I just got these at Home Depot, just number 10 24 course nuts here, and then and then these are, no, that's not it, that's not, here we go. And then just some 16 gauge 1 1/4 inch finishing nails. They're called wire brads. So just use a case of those, and I mean, I think this was like $1 a pack, and it comes in a box of like 100 or something. I don't know, there's a ton, it's like 2 ounces. And then there's 100 of these, and these were like $5 a pack or so. So this was the most expensive thing, was buying these nuts here, the nylon thread nuts. And then of course getting some the epoxy, which is right here, which is just the 5-minute epoxy. I wouldn't get the 1-minute epoxy. For me, I got some, but it just dried too quicker than what I could actually go. So excuse my workbench being messy, but like I said, and then you mix up the epoxy, and then I had to take I'm doing this one-handed here, but I take my toothpick and hold the nail and mix it up, hold the nail in the other hand, dip it around there, kind of like a candied apple or something, and then I just stick it right there into the nail, and most of the time you got enough, if you got enough glob on the nail itself, it'll want to hold up. And the more time, the last ones is going to be the harder. It's going to be harder to do than the first ones. And you just kind of, for the first 5 minutes or so, you're just kind of playing with them and just adjusting them to make sure they stand up straight. So I actually got a few more to do, because I bought a few more planes, and got another idea I want to do as well. But anyway, so I just got that set up. I'm not going to actually run through and y'all watching epoxy dry and watching me race epoxy dry, actually. So but yeah, hopefully this will help. Like I said, I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder by any means. General Hand Grenade did an excellent video showing those flight stands, showing off War-Torn's flight stands. I'm not trying to take business for War-Torn either, but you know, $100 is $100 either way. So some of y'all may be on the Wildcat budget and need something a little bit cheaper than $100, and this is one way to do it. Just kind of the DIY flight stands, but I completely understand the desire to have a more professional grade product, such as a Phil Marshall Games flight stand or a War-Torn flight stand, because they certainly do look a lot nicer than mine. But anyways, hope this helps you, and like I said, hope this is useful for you. Thanks.